And then I never talked to him again. So yeah, no. Oh, also, back in middle school, there was another person that I dated. And the thing is, I sort of fucked up, because the thing is, I didn't have any feelings for him. He was just a good friend of mine. But it was obvious that he had really strong feelings for me. Even though I just was painfully dense and didn't realize. And I ended up dating him partially because, like, I felt bad saying no. And I ended up getting really bad relationship anxiety, and then I ended up stop dating after a couple months because I felt bad. I was like, man, I'm like, it's not right to date somebody because you feel bad. Like, that's mean, right? So I dated him for a little bit, and I was hoping that some feelings would develop, and it just didn't happen, right? I'm sure if the relationship anxiety wasn't there, I would have been fine, but that's just how the cookie crumbled with that one. But the thing is, we kept talking, and I made the mistake of saying that maybe we could date again in the future. Don't fucking say that shit. Personal advice from Lumi, don't ever say that shit. Ever. Don't do it. It's not gonna happen. You know it's not. Don't do it. And so I ended up accidentally leaving this poor guy with just this sense of hope that just lasted for years. And I had no idea. Like, I just thought we were cool. So I fucked up. And at some point, because I was looking into getting into a different... But hey, just happy you're not me. I'm apparently so oblivious that I've literally given someone their number at a bar and still did not make it click. I wasn't drinking. If it makes you feel better, I do that shit. I do that shit all the time. I'm so painfully unaware that somebody has a crush on me. There's been so many times where people hit on me at, like, Saw's Vtuber parties, for example. And it completely flies over my head that they're hitting on me, and then they eventually leave me alone. Like, it's happened a good time and, like, good couple times in Saw's Discord server, too. Oh, yeah, no, at the recent party, I didn't realize it until he left, but there was a dude, he had, like, his hand on the wall, and he was like, hey, come here often? Totally fucking hitting on me, and I'm like, no. And then he was like, oh. You know, I'm like, I'm very unhit-onable. It just doesn't work. But, so this dude, keep in mind, he was hoping that we'd end up dating for fucking 4 years. Because of the fact that I said, oh, maybe in the future. Maybe if I get over the relationship anxiety and stuff like that. So I fucked up. That, and I recognize that I fucked up. Like that, I should have just said probably not. That way he could get over his feelings. But he didn't get over his feelings for 4 fucking years. And I wasn't even thinking about it either. I was like, oh, okay, he's probably over it. You know? No. So, eventually, I was telling him that I had a crush on somebody, but I would not tell him who it was. And eventually he told me that he had a crush on somebody, and he wouldn't tell me who it was. So, he thought that I had a crush on him, and I wasn't saying anything, because that's what he was doing. He had a crush on me, but he wasn't saying who it was. So we're sort of just like having a good old grand old time, and he's trying to figure out who I have a crush on, and I'm trying to figure out who he has a crush on, but he did not realize that I wasn't talking about him. And so eventually I tell him who it was I had a crush on, and he was like totally cool about it. And fast forward, I think a week, and he gives me like a notepad at 3 in the morning saying he absolutely hated my guts and then I was the actual worst. Like I was just straight up the Antichrist levels of bad. And he's like, your obliviousness pisses me off. You're actually just a piece of shit. I don't know why you're like this. You know, all sorts of shit, right? And it was so edgy. And it looks like a nice guy's copy pasta. And I still have the notepad. This is why I have a female or extrovert wingman. But, you know, he told me that I was an actual piece of shit, that I was the fucking worst. And the thing was, I immediately knew why he felt that way. And I felt so bad. Because a lot of it was me making the mistake of saying, hey, maybe we can date in the future. I don't feel like dating right now. And so I legitimately felt bad. I felt like the piece of... Fuck off. I felt like the piece of shit, right? And the thing is, all I could think about was the fact that I owed him $10. And I felt bad, and I was trying to think of a way I could give him his $10. Because I borrowed it. I borrowed $10 from him for a League skin. And so I wanted to pay him back. I'm like, if he hates me this much, I at least wanted to pay him back. Right? So, eventually, the thing was, he was sort of petty about it, right? Like, he was sort of petty, and like, because we had a lot of the same routes, because we went to the same school, right? So we had a lot of the same routes, and sort of went to the same places. We didn't have any of the same classes, but we shared a lot of the same routes. And so what he would do is he would bring his friends on, like, he would talk with his friends on the route with him, and he would just pretend that he was having, like, the best time of his life, right? Like, he was just so happy I was gone, and, you know, that everything's so cool now that we aren't talking. And the thing is, I was like, all to make me feel bad, yeah. And the thing is, I was like, aw, man, look how happy he is now that I'm not around. I really did suck. I'm like, I really am like what he thought I was like. Now, there's one small issue with this. The thing is, when somebody says they want to be left alone and never want to talk to me again, I am very quick and very immediate to respect it. I don't ask any questions. He doesn't want to talk to me anymore. That's fine. So I don't talk to him. All contact was ceased from there. I tried to find different paths to my classes and all that, right? But he was confused, right? And he thought that I didn't care because it was so easy for me to stop talking to him. Like, he was absolutely baffled. He couldn't get it. He was like, why the fuck? Like, I know I said I don't want to talk to her anymore, but, you know, she fucking really made me upset. So, you know, it's like she really made me upset. She tried really hard. She made me really upset, so I'm gonna try really hard to make her upset. And he just thought I didn't care. Like, he just wholeheartedly thought I didn't care. And, eventually, oh, yeah. He's got a lot of unchecked stuff that he really needs to look into getting checked out, I think. Because he's not a bad guy. He's really not. He's just dumb. But it's a pretty nice house. Are you married yet? Nope. You will be my wife. But, like, the thing was, all things considered, he was a great friend. Like, he was absolutely fantastic. Hilarious. Our dynamics were totally different. He was, like, the popular sports kid that also played video games. And I was just a fucking nerd. Like, bless his heart. He just needs to go to therapy or something, right? Thank you. But he just sucks in a relationship. Like, he's just not great. He does what's the term? Love bombing? I don't know. He doesn't know how to show his affection properly. Yeah, learn to let go. That's a big one too. But he eventually, after a week, he messages me back, because the thing is, he was the one that blocked me, right? Or no, he didn't even message me back. He just, because the thing is, we all used to eat at the same table. We all used to, because there was like me and like another friend of ours. We all used to eat together, talk together, stuff like that. And I was the one that left, because I thought it was, you know, I thought I was being respectful. But he just was like, well, obviously she doesn't care. But eventually after a week, it like drove him insane. And he, you know, it's like we talked again. He was like, oh, hey, I just wanted to apologize. That was really fucking mean and edgy of me to say. Like, it wasn't cool. And I was like, oh, that's fine. I'm gonna be honest. I couldn't stop thinking about the fact that I owed you like $10. And he's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I was like, what? And he's like, I told you that I hated your guts, and I hope everyone abandons you. And all you could think of was the $10 that you owed me for a fucking League skin? And I was like, yeah. Because I knew why you felt the way you did. Like, in my head, it was completely justified that he felt that way. Because in reality, yeah, I led him on. You know? And I know for guys, like, feelings are just harder to get over. Is that a good reason for him to be a dick? No. That was uncool and unjustified. But I understood where it came from. And then we started talking again. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, he's very, that's where I was sort of like, I think he just needs to get some sort of therapy, because I don't know if he has, I want to say he has some level of BPD. I really do. But that's not my place to make a diagnosis like that, right? Like, honest to God, I think that might have been a part of it, because he's got a lot. Because something that he realized is that I was the only person that he's ever talked to that really, truly gave a shit about him. And that I wanted to see him grow as a person. And that I actually cared. That was something that he realized once, you know... that's weird. Well, actually, in a way, yeah. Because, like, he was a sports kid, naturally talented, super funny, and he was really, like, he was one of the kids that were, like, super duper popular, right? But the thing is, he hated his social circle, because a lot of them, he was the quote-unquote funny black guy, right? Like, that was the role that he was placed into by his peers. And they would have him say unfunny shit from a joke literally 5 years ago. And he was not truly happy with this social circle. And I think he realized what he lost when he did not want to talk to me anymore. And the thing is, ultimately, at the end of the day, it was because feelings got in the way. He had a crush. And crushes happen, and it's whatever. I just wish that he handled it a little better. Because in reality, he was cool to talk to, and he was funny, and, like, he was great, but I wouldn't date him. Like, there's a lot of my guy friends that are like that. I'm like, dude, you're amazing to talk to. Absolutely fucking hilarious, but you are just dog shit dating material. Like, you just actually suck. You know, I'm like, I hope you get a girlfriend. Or a boyfriend, or, you know, whatever. But you gotta work on some stuff first, because I'm not gonna fucking date you. Like, you just suck. 10 years? Are y'all still hitting it off, or did it end? Right. Well, that's, like, the hard thing, right? Because it's like, what do you really define as going somewhere? That's something that, you know, sometimes you figure it out and you're like, you know, this person doesn't actually want to do anything with their life. I want to own a house and have kids or this and that. And then, you know, the person you date is like, you know, I want to do something totally different. But I don't know, it's like, it's interesting. And people are always surprised when I have dating advice because they're like, I never thought you would have ever dated in your life. Like, and then these are a lot of the same people that are like, I never thought you'd get angry, or I never thought, you know, you would have even an ounce of hatred in you. And I'm like, oh no, I'm fully capable of all of these things. But, you know, it's something that I don't express very openly. If I'm pissed off at somebody, then it stays in really closed doors. It's why when I'm pissed off with somebody, you usually only hear about it through VV. But yeah, no, like, considering the fact I have a hard time hating somebody that literally told me that they hated my guts and probably insinuated that they hope that I'm abandoned by everybody, like, it takes a lot for me to hate somebody. Like, legitimately. I am too tired of a person to hate. But every once in a while, there's the people that come in and I just fucking hate their guts. I just think they are a piece of shit. But it takes a lot. Nah, you haven't done anything that could possibly piss me off. You've been a pretty well-rounded client, I'd say so. Like, you've been fantastic. I think you're cool. There's just a few people. Like, I think the only real way to piss me off is to, like, manage to, like, you see, like, that's my thing, right? Like, it's hard. Because in my head, I'm very much a person that's like, if somebody is pissed off at, like, my family member or me, in my head, usually it's because they or I did something, right? Like, not all the time. Sometimes people are just pissed off and hate people to hate. But a good chunk of the time, I do a little bit of introspection and I'm like, okay, what the fuck did I do for this person to just actually be super pissed off with me? And, like, for my ex, it was because, you know, I was like, oh, you know, I don't really feel like dating right now. I'm not comfortable. It's not you. Maybe we could date in the future. That was my mistake. But, you know, does that justify everything that he did? No. He just not a good relationship partner. It's just that shrimple, innit? Dating? So here's the thing. We, as a society, are learning how to have truly happy relationships this late in the game. Or at least in the US. Right? Because you know, women getting rights. Let's stop talking about women's rights. Let's start talking about women's wrongs. You know, shit like that. People are getting an equal footing. Abuse was a big culture thing. Gen X, boomer generation, hating your wife is fucking hilarious. But as time goes on, people realize that maybe things don't have to be that way. Maybe you don't have to hate your wife. Maybe you don't have to hate your husband. And it's a shame that that's something that only recently people are really learning. But because of that, our generation, like millennials, Gen Z, a lot of them don't know how to love. They're in a generation where love is promoted, but a lot of them don't know how to. A lot of them don't really know what love looks like, what it sounds like, things like that. And that was something that I struggled with for a long time because everybody loves in a different way. For me, love is a very strong word. It is a very sacred word. Every time I talk about love, I feel like I'm peering into sacred texts. It is something that is very sacred to me. It's not something that I say loosely. And that's another thing too. Recognizing that everybody's definition of love is totally different. Some people can love very easily, and some people can't. I'm a person that can't love easily. It takes a lot. But a lot of people don't know how to find that out. They don't know how to explain that to another person. Like a definition of life, exactly. Love is what you make it. Life is what you make it. Your interpersonal connections are what you make it. But the difficult thing about love is that everybody has a different definition of love. And for some people... Booker. I think as long as people communicate what they want, needing each other goes a long way. You are a gremlin. Oh boy. What'd I do this time? But that's the thing too. Like, because love is so complicated, sometimes people just don't know how to explain that to each other. It took me a really long time, like a really long time, to explain what I meant for love. Because for me, love is spoken in actions and not words. For a long time, I couldn't even tell my friends that I loved them. I couldn't. I could not tell my friends that I loved them because love was such a strong word. And every time my friends would tell me that they loved me, I would have a little bit of a crisis because I don't know, I couldn't, in my head, I did not know if I meant it to say that I love them. It was something that I got a lot more comfortable with saying over the years, but I got a giggle because a friend of mine, she told me that she loved me all the time. All the time. And I never said it back. I did love her. She was great. But I never said it back. One day, think like in high school or whatever, she said that she loved me. And she's like, I love you, Lumi. And I said, I love you too. And she immediately sort of gave me shit because she was like, it only fucking took you 10 years. Because I had known her pretty much my entire life at that point. It's true. And, you know, she was like, it only took you 10 years. And I sort of laughed about it, but, you know, again, it was something that, it was just super sacred to me. Just love is a very big word. Because I grew up around people that didn't treat it like it. Does it, and, you know, and then it goes down to, oh, well then what do you think about people that sleep around and stuff like that? And it's like, I don't care. They love in their own way. Maybe they truly do love all the people that they hold hands with. For me, that's a lie. I've had a hard time receiving love before. I think I made my sister cry because I don't say it often. If ever so she thought I was dying or something. Aww. That's the hard part, right? It's something that I eventually got more comfortable saying, not because I stopped treating it like a big deal, but because the people around me, they would say it at least semi-frequently. And to them, their love language is to be being told that they're loved. And so it's something that, although I personally have a hard time saying, for the sake of having my peers and my friends and my loved ones feel loved, I would tell them that I love them. It's still a sacred word, and it's still something that I, you know, treat very personally. But to give them their ease of mind, I tell them that I love them. Because, you know, there's a part of my heart that does. And I know it's there, I just have a hard time saying it.